is this a client that you should be working with? I like to look at discovery as an opportunity, not for me to present myself. Welcome to your Consulting Business Podcast. My name is Russell Pearson, and this is episode number 36. Today on the episode, we've got a colleague and really someone I look up to in the world of coaching when it comes to consultants in particular. So if you are a consultant, if you are thinking of moving from the service space into a more of an advisory business, or even if you're thinking of moving out of the corporate role that you're already working in to start your own consulting business, you're going to get a lot out of this episode, because we're going to be talking about the important step, which is discovery, not just understanding what's going on for the client, but understanding really, is this a client that you should be working with? I like to look at discovery as an opportunity, not for me to present myself, but the client to present themselves, so I understand if this is someone I want to be working with longer term. Is this going to serve the my best use of time, so that I know that I'm working with someone I'm going to get the best results from, and to get you really useful information to understand how we go about tackling whatever the challenge is that they may be experiencing. Now, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the show. If you are watching this on YouTube, you can hit the subscribe button. If you are listening to it on a podcast, then you can hit the subscribe button there too, because you want to get this show as we release it each week. Now, you might have just realized that we have a YouTube version and a podcast version. So if that's useful for you, go and check it out as well. Also, at the same time, we're in the middle of releasing our Touchmark program, which is all about brand acceleration. How can you get more impact faster from your brand? And how can you actually evolve it from where it has been to something that's actually going to get far more tangible impact for you in the future? So if you're interested in that, reach out to me. You can also go to russellpearson.com and you can reach out via that, and we will show you how to get involved. But let me introduce our next guest, who is the author of the business book bestseller, Do It Marketing, and his new book, Do It Selling. All right, now I don't know if that's going to reveal it just yet, but he's also the founder of the Do It MBA mentoring program and the host of The Selling Show, a top-rated business podcast with over 300 episodes. Do you know who it is yet? Well, I'm not going to reveal it just yet. He helps professional service sellers land better clients, bigger deals, and higher fees, and that's what he's about to do. How in the way he's going to help you right now. Please make him feel absolutely welcome, David Newman. David Newman, welcome to the show.
Russell Pearson, it is great to be here. Thank you.
It's fantastic to have you here. You are one of the people I certainly look up to in the consulting coaching space, helping consultants build better businesses. So it's fantastic for us to have this conversation today. And it's right on the heels of an anniversary for your original Do It Marketing book, is it not?
It is. So 10 years
Wow.
ago, the Do It Marketing book came out, and very close to the birthday of the newest book, which is Do It Selling. So nice little synchronicity happening between past and present and future.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I came across Do It Marketing on the back of a T-shirt at Cigar Peg, which for anybody who doesn't know, there's it's almost a secret society of professional speakers over in the US. But we won't talk too much about that. But that's where I first saw the brand, and it's not even where we met, but through that network is how I think we came together. So fantastic to have you on the show. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, worlds collide right here, Russell. Worlds collide.
Absolutely. Now I know we're going to talk about the questions that consultants can use, how to do better discovery and things like that. But before we get to that, I would love to actually understand a little deeper about Do It as the brand and how that came to be. Can you tell us a little about that?
I can, and it's a funny story, and it's a story that I rarely tell. So I'm thrilled to be sharing this with you and with your audience. So let's go back to 2008. I'm at a marketing seminar as a participant. The person leading the marketing seminar is my friend, Mark LeBlanc. And Mark LeBlanc wrote a fantastic little book called Growing Your Business, has sold 100,000 copies plus. A brilliant small business marketing guy. And we go around at this seminar. He says, so say your name, say your company, and say what you do. And here's what literally left my lips. I said, well, my name is David Newman. I have a company name, but I don't really use it. It's called Unconsulting, and I'm a small business marketing coach. And Mark just stops everything, looks at me down the table, and he says, Unconsulting? I was like, yeah. It's like the old 7-Up commercials where it's like the Uncola. You take everything that you don't like about consultants, turn it upside down, and you get me. And I was all excited and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And he goes, yeah, I wouldn't use that either. I wouldn't use that either.
Rough.
So now I'm sitting here. There's like a 3-day seminar. And I'm like, oh my God, my brand is a disaster. I don't know what to do. Terrible. I'm such a loser. I'm such a schmuck. I had a lot of other problems, by the way, besides the terrible company name. So the next day we walk in and Mark takes me aside and he says, I have your new brand. I said, okay, because I'm ready to give up the old one after yesterday's vigorous tooth cleaning. And he says, you're all about action. I think you're do it marketing. And I listened to that and I was like, in my head, I'm like, I really hate that. That's like the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But then, of course, we go through the second day of the seminar and now I'm in my hotel room there and I'm thinking, okay, well, I can get behind that, but it needs to mean something. So I sat down with a legal pad and I'm like, okay, DOIT, maybe it's an acronym. Maybe it means something beyond just, do it, action, implementation, and so forth. So in the hotel, here's what I came up with. Define, organize, implement, track. And the original Do It Marketing logo actually had those 4 words under it. I didn't like those 4 words under it, so I cropped it out and I've never used that logo. But when you're thinking about marketing, when you're thinking about sales, what do you have to do? You have to define who you are, define your target market, define your services. Yeah. You have to organize your marketing and sales activities. You have to actually implement those marketing and sales activities, put them into action. You have to measure what's going on. You have to track and then make adjustments. So I thought, define, organize, implement, track. That's fantastic. Now, day 3 of the seminar, just to finish the story, now I'm thinking, do it marketing, do it this, do it that, do it publicity, do it trade shows, do it. I'm thinking I can have this entire empire. And then I go to my friend Mark LeBlanc and I say, this do it marketing thing, it's really growing on me. In fact, I came up with define, organize, implement, track. And I'm thinking, do it PR, do it marketing, do it selling, do it speaking, do it trade shows, do it networking. And he's like, yeah, it's pretty good. I'm like, yeah, it is pretty good. And I left that seminar, bought the domain, changed over the website. And ever since 2008, it's been Do It Marketing. So that's the long saga.
No, that's fantastic. And Mark LeBlanc in particular got into my head once upon a time. And I always have this reminder in my head to put down my bags. Yeah, he's got this story about walking the Camino Trail. So he's incredibly good at getting into your head. So I completely understand. That's great. Fantastic. And yeah, the acronym works. All right, well, let's talk about actually doing it. Let's talk about some of the specifics that we can help our audience with, who are obviously consultants and those service professionals who are moving to advisory spaces. One of the big topics that I think we do as a day-to-day piece of work, but don't really think about that often, is the discovery call or the discovery session. So let's talk about that.
Yes. So that is super, super important. A lot of folks skip over the discovery because they want to get to the pitch. And they're like, well, let me get to the sales part, as fast as I can. Discovery's nice. And, maybe I can pick up some of that information later. My advice to you is the discovery part is the sales part. It's when you're asking questions, when you're collecting information, when you're getting all of this information from the prospect. You could do your entire sales process, really, I think, should be about 75% discovery.
Yep.
And not just on the initial call, but really throughout, continue to probe, continue to peel the onion, continue to find out what's really going on, the issue behind the issue, the question behind the question. So in the Do It Selling book, the way that I recommend that you get permission to go this deep, this fast, because you really need to get right to the meat of things without a whole lot of preamble, is the first discovery question is, would it be okay? So let's say you and I, Russell, were having a conversation, and you agreed to meet with me. And I say, Russell, great speaking with you. For the purpose of our call today, would it be okay if I treat you like a fee-paid client? And most people will go, ooh, okay, that's interesting. What does that mean? And the answer to what does that mean is, well, it means a couple of things. Number one, we are going to talk about a lot of the central issues around your situation and if or how I can help. And in order to get the most out of our time, I may need to interrupt and I may need to redirect our conversation to make sure that you get maximum value from our time together. Second thing is, I may see some things and hear some things for which I would love your permission to tell you what you need to hear and not necessarily what you want to hear. Would that be okay if we set those two ground rules right now? Permission to interrupt and permission to redirect, tell you what you need to hear, not necessarily what you want to hear, so that you get maximum value from the call. Yes, great. Now, once I've done that, imagine all the ways that these sales calls can go wrong. You have now gotten a golden ticket. You can interrupt, you can redirect, and you can speak the truth. You can hold up the mirror and tell them what you really think is going on without necessarily hurting their feelings. So at that point, the second question in your discovery process is, well, tell me a little bit about where you've been with this problem or this challenge and where you'd like to go with it. And then we can start talking about what might be possible. So when you say, it's a leadership challenge, sales challenge, marketing challenge, manufacturing challenge, whatever it is, tell me where you've been, tell me where you are with it now, and we'll spend the rest of our time talking about where you'd like to go. What does this question do? This gets them talking. So within the first 2 minutes of this conversation, you hand the microphone to them, they start talking. When they're talking, that's when rapport and trust is built. When you are talking, they're thinking about their grocery list. They're thinking about what they're doing that afternoon. They're totally tuned out. An early sales mentor of mine said to me, David, a prospect who is listening is not a prospect. I had to think about that. I was like, what is that? Prospect? Oh, so a prospect who is talking is a prospect. Yes, a prospect who is talking is a prospect. And then when you go through the rest of the discovery, and again, there's detailed frameworks in the Do It Selling book, but I'm giving you the highlights here. Be as specific as you possibly can. Never accept a squishy answer. A squishy answer is something like, well, our retention is not as high as we would like. Our turnover is a little bit disappointing. I wish we would do better on our employee satisfaction scores. Yeah, we're not as strong as we would like with our corporate culture. These squishy answers give you no actionable information at all. The best way to unsquish a squishy answer is by asking the question, can you put a number on it? 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 Where has it been? Where is it going? How do you know it's low? How do you know it's high? Where is it compared to your competitors? Has it ever been lower? Has it ever been higher? What's the trend? Is it on its way up? Is it on its way down? And then, of course, we always need to ask money questions. How much is that costing you? Do you think that this is affecting margin, profit, revenue, sales, loss, whatever, right? Time, money, dollars, hours, percentages. Quantify and specify these problems that you're asking about, because if you don't, when you present the fee is always going to be too high. Any fee without a context is always too high. So someone says, well, I have great news, Russell. I can solve this for you for $50,000. Oh my gosh, I thought this would be a couple $1,000s. Whereas if they just told you they've got a $1.7 million problem, and then you say, I have good news, I can solve this for you for about $50,000, then it's like, oh my gosh, thank goodness, how soon can you start? So any number without a context is too high. So that's just kind of a very quick overview into the entire discovery process, and we can take it anywhere you want from here.
Yeah, I'm going to unpack some of it because it's great. Everything in there, I'm like, yeah, 100%, 100%. Let's unpack some of the whys, right? So, funnily enough, a lot of consultants should be doing coaching training, in my opinion, because there's a concept called distortions, deletions, and generalizations in a lot of coaching training, which talks about the map. And when they give those squishy answers or those soft answers, there are distortions, deletions, or generalizations in them which distort our map. We can't actually see where things are, and you know what they say about assumptions. Yeah. So
Totally.
I love that, and that gives you not just the roadmap, but it gives the position to start from, and the piece around the numbers. I'm always looking for an anchor, especially when it comes to price. What are we comparing it to? So it's the context, right? If we know that they're literally saying this is costing us $200,000 a year, or it's preventing us, and usually the expectation of what it's preventing us is often higher. You know, we should be at a $2 million company, but we're only at 800. That creates this big. So you're telling me the gap is 1.1 million or 1.2 million. And right. They're like, yeah, that's where we should be. All right. Well, in my head, I'm like, well, any tenth of that, we're probably in the right ballpark. And as my friend who has an app that's called Two Ears says, you know, it is about enabling them to have the microphone, because not only do we get information, but the rapport is built because they feel heard.
Yes.
And for many people, it's the first time they've felt heard in a long time.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. One of my early sales friends is kind of a rough and tumble sales training guy from here in the Northeast in the US. His name is Stu Bolno. And he says the secret is you have to show up with a bucket and not a microphone. And what he means by that is, in the bucket, we collect all of their data, all of the qualitative and quantitative, what they said, their numbers, their data, their complaints, their vocabulary, their verbiage, exactly what they said and exactly what they said they want. And all of that goes into the bucket. I think where consultants in particular feel very tempted by the microphone instead of the bucket is, number one, they want to sound smart. And number two, they want to be liked.
Yeah.
These two are they will completely kill your sales success. So we do not want to show up wanting to sound smart. We do not want to show up wanting to be liked. This whole concept of, let me give you all these free ideas, and you're going to like me for how brilliant I am. And I'm going to be so helpful. I'm going to be like a little happy puppy jumping up and down in your lap. And then you're going to pet my head and give me a big check. That is not how it works.
No.
So think about this. If you are not concerned about sounding smart, what are you going to do? You're going to ask a lot more questions. You're going to ask some foundational and fundamental questions, but then you're also going to ask some higher level questions. Things like, well, I'm curious, if you had that solved, what would that mean for you? What would that mean for the company? What would that mean for the department? Who else might notice that this problem is solved? Would that be important to them? I'm curious, why would that be important to them? And now, and who else? And who else? And who else? We keep on opening things up, right? I'm wondering, if we solve this, what would this mean to you personally? Oh, well, personally, I've been working on this for 3 years. It would be a huge feather in my cap. It would be a great point of pride. Okay. What would it mean to you professionally? Well, I could finally move from VP to executive VP. I've been overlooked for promotions twice in the last 3 years, Russell. You know why? Because I can't seem to solve this problem. The minute I solve this problem, I'm moving up to executive VP. Okay. What would this mean to you financially? Financially, my boss said that if we fix this year, we're all getting our bonus. And if we don't fix it this year, no one's getting a bonus. So these are the kind of questions where it's like, oh, I don't want to be nosy. I don't want to seem like I'm getting in their business, because again, they're not going to like me and I'm asking too many questions, and maybe I should already know these things, so I sound dumb now. let all of that go. The moment that you become strategically dumb and perpetually curious, you'll make a lot more money as a consultant.
And I want to jump on that bit there too, because a lot of consultants I speak to are asking the business question. And when you're in there talking, especially to a corporate organization, there seems to be this tendency to be asking, what does this mean for the business? What does this mean for the organization? But it's about the person in front of you. The person in front of you is the person making the decision. And if there's the old adage of no one was fired for buying an IBM, because they're thinking about their job first.
Right.
And how are you thinking about them?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would even ask things like, is there any financial compensation that hinges on solving this for you, for the team, for the CEO, right? Is there any, does this affect bonuses? Does this affect promotions in any way, shape, or form? And believe it or not, if you ask with a sense of genuine curiosity, they will answer these questions. Now, sometimes they will say, this has no financial impact on me or my team at all. And that's really good to know also.
Yeah.
So, because we sometimes listen with happy ears, right? Sales, that's a sales term, like happy ears, like, oh, the prospect is saying all these great things. I know they're going to close. They liked me. They loved the presentation. Everything was awesome. And then they go dark and then they disappear because you forgot that, well, take off the happy ears. Did they say this was important? No. Did they say this was a priority? No. Did they say there's any other urgency driving this? Deadlines, dates, circumstances? Yeah. No. So you're a nice to have. You're not a have to have. And we waste way too much time in these deals that never close because we fail to listen for what's really going on. We love listening for buying signals. I think it's equally important to listen for non-buying signals.
Yeah, false positives. It happens all the time. I've got a slightly negative spin on it, but false positives filling up pipelines that are just throwing off what people expect. Expectations. They're throwing the expectations out, and it happens time and time again. But Columbo is the person that I like to emulate in this scenario.
Yes.
Like, if you're going to be clever, be dumb clever. Go in there with a sense of genuine curiosity. Oh, let me just ask you one more question.
For you young kids listening, Columbo TV series, 1970s, look it up. It's on YouTube. You will love it. And I completely agree. I use the Columbo metaphor all the time. And here's what's great about Columbo. Everyone underestimated this guy's intelligence. Yeah. He's a frumpy, sloppy. He's got mustard on his necktie. He's got the old rumpled raincoat. His hair's a disaster, but he's a keen observer. He was watching and listening to absolutely everything. And he's incredibly intelligent, incredibly analytical, but he never lets the suspect, in our case, prospect, but he never lets the suspect know that he's on to them. But he's on to them from minute number one. It's fantastic.
Yeah, great. Detective stories. The permission piece too, so important. And I had a session with a client the other day, and I know when I'm about to be rough, and I asked them, do I have permission to be a little rough with you? Sometimes you can even ask that sort of question, and they'll say, this is what we're doing, and I'm like, and what's the problem with that? They're like, well, this is the problem with it. So what? Who does that affect? So what? Yeah, and you get real deep into it, and then you suddenly realize that all this fluff around the outside of what they thought was the issue was not, and you get to the core. If you can ask permission, you can almost always get to the core. So fantastic, David. I really appreciate those questions, and I'm sure everybody here is going to take a little bit longer to sit and actually just absorb in the discovery process. Now, your new books has just come out, but is there anything that the audience should go and check out when it comes to Do It?
Yes, a couple of things. So there is a free 37-page manifesto that's part marketing and part sales and part revenue growth.
Yes.
And that's available at doitmarketing.com/manifesto. And then everything related to the Do It Selling book, all the companion tools, downloads, resources, videos, those are online at doitselling.com.
Fantastic. We'll put those links into the show notes. So go and make sure that you visit David's website. David Newman, thank you very much for being on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
So much fun, Russell. Thank you.
What a fantastic conversation. It's always good to talk with David. He has a lot of laughs as well as having some great information. And I think it is a really good topic for us to be talking about, because I do see a lot of unexperienced or inexperienced consultants doing that sort of surface level discovery without really understanding what's happening underneath, which is going to give them all the data they need to help make better decisions. So hopefully you'll go over to Do It Marketing and Do It Selling and actually check out what David's got over there. We've got the links all in the show notes. Now, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you can get more videos like this. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll know that this is in video form. If you're watching or listening with your listening ears to this on a podcast, you may want to know that we are on YouTube. And the flip side, if you're watching this on YouTube, we have this podcast in audio form in all sorts of audio platforms. So wherever you get your favorite podcast. Now, we also have a recommendation at the end of every session. So let me get to that. What I'd like to recommend today is chatpdf.com. Now, there's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence. There's a lot of talk about generative AI, and there are all sorts of tools out there that are, going through the roof in the speed of development right now. But this one in particular, which enables you to put a PDF into the website, it will download that PDF and read it, and then actually come back to you with some suggested ways that you can interrogate it, but you can actually ask it questions about the PDF. So one of the great things you can do is put something that's maybe new specifications or upgrades to some sort of terms of service, whatever it might be, and you'll be able to ask questions like, what has changed in this copy? What is new in this version? All those sort of things are fantastic, and you can also ask questions to it, sort of interrogating the document to get much deeper information about what's inside. I found it incredibly useful, and it's just one of the many artificial intelligence tools that are becoming more and more popular every day. And if you don't know already, that we have been running our Touchmark program this month, which is all about brand acceleration. If you're a consultant or a service provider who is looking to accelerate their brand to have more impact in the market where you play, then you can reach out to me at russellpearson.com and we can talk about how you can get involved. It's been a lot of fun so far with the work that we've been doing, and it has a long way to go in how we're going to continue to evolve it over the years. This is something that's been over 25 years in the making. You may not know, but I got my start in the world of branding, and that's what I was doing for the first 10 years of my professional work. And I didn't move away from it. I just could have kept it bubbling underneath, but I've just brought it out to the front again because the way that we're looking at brand has changed a little bit, and we've got a much deeper and more evolved way of actually bringing brand into your consulting business. Hopefully you got a lot of insights out of today's episode. Hopefully go and check out the chatpdf.com website and go and check out David Newman's work. And until next time, I'd love you to stay passionate, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye for now.